Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
At the top of the show, we're going to start off with something a little different, and we're going to see how this works. So I'd come across the idea from another podcaster. I'll shout it out, Joe List and Mark Norman on the Tuesdays with Stories podcast. Two stand-up comedians. Joe List tells a story about his best friend's kids and the family dinner conversations that they had on a trip. And he talks about the idea of rose, thorn, and seed. What did you like from the day? What didn't you like from the day? And what are you looking forward to? So I've been tooling around with the idea, maybe giving our podcast a little more structure in the beginning. To anybody listening, we kind of meander before we really get into it. So, Aaron, I would like to ask you at the top of the show, what is your rose, thorn, and seed for today?
Cool. So my rose, first off, I realized, forget if it was yesterday or the day before, I was like laying in bed going to sleep, kind of looked to my left and noticed, or like saw my tattoo and on my arm, and it like clicked into my head that I hadn't, like, it's still kind of a surprise when I see it.
Okay.
But when I saw it, I was like, it made me really happy. Like, I'm still like, I'm loving it and loving having it. So I was like, that's cool. Like, that's not gonna get old. Looking over and just like
Nice.
being kind of hyped about it. So that would be my rose. My thorn, I was mentioning to you a little bit before the pod, is really, like, there's been some tension between coworkers at my work, which stresses me out because I, working in hospitality, just want everyone to be happy and to get along. So that is definitely my thorn, because I'm just hoping my coworkers can work things out and be chill with each other. So that would be nice. And then my seed, I think I guess that I am getting back out into the dating world, and that I'm looking forward to meeting people and like just kind of figuring out all of that. It's a new experience that I haven't had in a while. So
Nice.
So yeah, that's my rose, thorn, and seed for this week.
That's cool. I really like your seed, especially we were talking a little bit about it off air, and it sounds as though from like a good friend perspective, and also from like a self-awareness perspective, like from the way you talked about it, it seems as though the action was solid, the analysis was solid, and there's always easy pitfalls to get like self-deprecating and like, oh, what did I do wrong and why didn't she like me and this and that. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes just having a night out with drinks and getting food is all you need. So that's that's really good.
Definitely. So no complaints on that. Who knows what'll come in the future? So I'm here for it. That's why it's the seed. So
hell yeah, dude, that's sick. All right.
So how about you then?
I guess the rose for the day, I put in my order for Modern Horizons 2 today. I'm pretty sure the spoilers are going to start tomorrow. But the confirmation of the fetch lands was kind of all I needed. That's what would you say, like a set of cards that has been in my eye for a long time. So this is going to be my opportunity to hopefully get my hands on some of them. So that's my rose. My thorn, I am having alternator problems in my Honda, and it's going to take a trip up to the Pet Boys to hopefully get it checked out. Maybe it's a battery issue, who knows. So that's definitely my thorn. And my seed, it's not the deck that we'll be talking about today, but I just put together a new commander deck, Guillaume Master Chef, and I played a couple sample hands of it, and it just might be like accidentally one of the more synergistic decks that I've built. It seems like it's going to hum really well when played. So that's kind of my seed. I'm looking forward to the first opportunity I get to either playing with the deck or showing it off for you guys here on the pod.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that because that's cool. Especially, it sounds like you kind of stumbled upon it working out pretty well. So
yeah, I pretty much just put all the cards that say make a food on it and a couple other like synergistic pieces, and it really does. It just hums. And when food was first like introduced into Magic in the Throne of Eldraine set a little while back, it was really sweet, and I even said then, I was like, I hope they do more with this in the future, and they gave us a pretty cool black-green commander for it, so I built a deck around him. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Nice, that's awesome. We'll have to...
yeah, that is my...
Yeah, check that out.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we'll have to check that out in the deck techs probably sometime soon, since you mentioned
maybe next week or the following week. Look forward to that. Cool. But yeah, that is my Rose, Thorn, and Seed for today and this week. First on the docket, not really competition related, but we always have new music in the back of our minds. Now, what has been in your headphones, Aaron?
So, well, a couple notes just regarding new music. So, for one, I was talking with my buddy Shane. He sent me a TikTok video this morning. I know how you feel about TikTok, Justin.
It's my favorite thing. I'm on it all the time.
But he sent me a video. It was basically for like punk rock, heavy metal, metalcore kind of fans, people who enjoy that style of music. What are some rappers that you have like experienced have similarities between those styles of music that you can kind of get into rap that way? Which for Shane, he's not a big fan of rap. He always has trouble finding stuff that he likes, but he likes that like heavier, like punk rock, metal kind of stuff. So there were some artists they mentioned on the TikTok, but there were also some other ones that I'm aware of that I think fit into his wheelhouse. So that was kind of cool being able to like direct him. So they mentioned some like different artists like Kill Switch and trying to think who else. Oh, I'm blanking. But there were a couple. One guy named Bones, another one, JPEG Mafia, are two that I've come across that are similar to Death Grips, which is a pretty experimental, like heavier, more aggressive style. These ones are not quite that aggressive, but they're still pretty experimental sound. So that was pretty cool being able to like put him onto those, and like I like talking about music with him. So
dude, that's sick. Have you ever heard of Tokyo Revenge? I think it's like right up that alley where it's very like it's very like metal sounding.
I kind of recognize that name, but I don't know if I've heard their stuff. So
gotcha.
The name sounds familiar enough that I'm not like, I'm trying to think of what else I had told him about. I'm checking my messages, but to see, Kill Station, Ghost Main, JPEG Mafia, Bones. Those were all ones that I had kind of thrown out to him, and he was like, I'll check them out.
Hell yeah.
But the music that we did want to specifically talk about, the J. Cole album did drop on the 14th, which was last Friday.
Yeah.
So initial thoughts, what were you thinking? Have you listened through all of it? Have you listened through part of it?
I'm pretty sure I've hit all the tracks. I don't think I missed any. Although I will say I was listening to it on YouTube, so I wasn't listening to it like in order. I was just clicking the tracks. That
Gotcha.
was on first listen, second listen. I listened to it all the way through. Overall, I really like the album. The production, like being pretty subdued, yet still feeling like very his style. Like he was able to sit in the pocket of a lot of his beats. Some of the choruses like really weren't my favorite thing. But then again, I'm not sure. I think I'm coming to realize I'm not sure that's an issue with the album. I just think I don't like choruses in general. They're usually like the corniest part of the song. I'm
Kind of
usually here for
repetitive, like,
right,
yeah.
right. I'm more here for the bars. However, speaking of the bars, again, J. Cole speaking very introspective, very kind of wise beyond his years kind of thing, and you always love to hear that from him, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing to listen to the album, because yeah, I think it's pretty good. I enjoy it a lot. It's
Yeah,
going to go well in his catalog.
definitely. And that's kind of the thought I had. It definitely it suits him. He has it kind of reminds me in a way of like Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi had a style that he did really, really well, and he kind of ventured away from it. And some of the albums that were, even though like good on him for like adventuring, trying something new, the albums that he made outside of that comfort zone didn't really hit super well as like the Man on the Moon albums. So
Right.
when he came back to that, like it was really solid, like with Kid Cudi's most recent album. With J. Cole, he never really has ventured too far from his style, but he does his style so well. Like
I might argue the For Your Eyes Only was a little bit of a departure. That felt more like this may be like a weird description of it, but it felt more like beat poetry slash like R&B type, like coffee house, like he was like penning all that as he was saying it, kind of thing.
yeah,
That's the vibe that I got from that album.
I would agree with that. And so
Less
like
bar heavy.
yeah, definitely. And so he has, yeah, I guess in that way he did definitely venture away from it, but this seemed like
Outside of that album, though, I think your point is like dead on. I think your
yeah,
point's dead on.
like
Yeah.
really in his wheelhouse. It had a lot of Forest Hills Drive, like kind of that feel to it. The bars were
Very
really
much.
solid. I liked your the way you put it. It's very introspective.
Hmm.
He does a good job of recognizing himself. He's like in the song 100 Mil, he's talking about how even though he's made $100 million, like he's still out here grinding every day. Like it's not about the money, it's about the time he's putting in. It's about the time, effort, and him being a creative that wants to continue to put out that art.
Right.
Which is really cool. The bars, a lot of them I enjoyed. He had some solid features on it. The feature with 21 Savage, I'm not typically a huge 21 Savage fan. Just in general, like it doesn't hit as much as some of the other artists I like, but that feature was solid. Like he had a really
Yeah.
nice part of that song that he put together, meshed well. And yeah, in general, I thought it was cool that how a lot of the songs related back to the album title, the off season. Like he was
Yeah.
bringing, he referenced a ton of basketball players, talking about getting Grizzly, Ja Morant, like LeBron. He's bringing different athletes and NBA stars up throughout the album, which was
Well,
pretty fitting. I thought.
And
It was cool.
don't you get like serious like NBA Street vibes from the album cover, like 2 baskets in a row, you're heating up, like 3 in a row, that's fuego, baby. Like that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Put it in a cartoon format, and that's like the new cover for NBA Street. Yeah.
Oh, dude, hell yeah, man, hell yeah. So I definitely like the the NBA shout out reference. I have to say, I tend to enjoy the like and I don't use any of these terms derogatory, like the like drill, trap, and like mumble rap artists. I tend to enjoy them most when they are featured on like a lyricist, and that's not to say they're not lyricists. Like obviously they're writing music, and they're just as much of an artist as J. Cole is. They're just doing a different thing. That's all I'm trying to say.
Style, yeah.
Right, just stylistic differences. But when they collab, specifically like the mumble rap / trap on the J. Cole-esque musician, those features I really enjoy. Like I know we had talked about it before, like Future features are usually amazing. I don't care to listen to a whole Future album,
Yeah.
So that is that is definitely an element to it where I'm getting to see, I'm introduced to artists and genres that I wouldn't normally fuck with in a way that is like fuck with a bull.
Definitely. And like bringing up Future a little bit, like I'm not typically the biggest fan of Future's just standalone music. I'm not typically a big fan of Drake's standalone music, but the mixtape that the two of them put together was
What a time to be alive.
It's like one of the only albums or mixtapes that I would say like, or some of the music that they have put out that I enjoy. I don't typically go for either artist standalone, but yeah, I think the way that, especially with J. Cole, the way that he kind of brings that into his music, and the production really brings it all together nicely. It doesn't sound strange having those artists that have a different style on the album. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, definitely an enjoyable listen. Another, I would say another home run from, what is it? North Carolina. Where's he from? Virginia?
North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Pretty certain.
Nice. Well, that's going to make this sound even clunkier. I was going to say, yep, another home run from North Carolina's finest. If only I knew the state, just like it could have been smooth like butter, but no, it was clunky like rocks.
Oh wow. So we're just slightly off. He was
Tennessee.
He was born in Frankfurt, Germany. He grew up he was born on a military base in Germany. He grew up in North Carolina. But
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. So he's a German national, actually.
Well, since he was
Dude,
born on,
no wonder he's so fucking tall.
Since he was born on a military base, though, he's technically an American citizen right out the gate. So no German citizenship as far as I'm aware.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I clearly don't know how the world works. That's okay.
But
yeah, definitely a great listen though.
Definitely, I enjoyed it. I will continue to enjoy it a bit more. I want to kind of dive in a little deeper. But speaking of diving a little deeper with J. Cole, the man also just the other day had his first professional basketball debut as a player.
Who's he playing for?
So he is playing in the Basketball Africa League, playing for a Rwandan team. called the Patriots Basketball Club. Played for 17 minutes, put up 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, which made me look into that. Apparently, he had always dreamed of being like a professional basketball player.
That's so sick.
And it also made me, like you mentioned, him being so tall. I didn't realize how tall he was until I looked.
He's a monster.
And dude's 6'2". Like he's a tall guy, and he's not like lanky or skinny. He's like a pretty built like stature.
Oh yeah. He's like built for basketball. Yeah. Put him in the paint. He could body somebody up, man, for sure.
Yeah, but 36-year-old debut professional basketball, even though it was in an African league. It's not the NBA, but still, hey.
Who gives a fuck? The NBA sucks anyway.
Good on him for getting out there and playing. Like, it's something he clearly is passionate about, so good on him.
That's sick. I'm really happy to hear it, because that's, even being like a successful musician, it's clear that even somebody as wildly successful as him, like, still has dreams that he wants to like move and push through that are in different, like, totally different arenas. That's really cool, and that gives like a whole lot more meaning to the album title, The Off Season, because it's like, well, that's what he was doing before basketball, and now he's playing basketball. Now it's the on season. Yeah. So the off season is hip hop now. The on season is basketball.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool seeing that, because like you said, it added a bit to the album, and it kind of made me think, like, he's talking in the album about all the grinding and hard work he's putting in, and I can imagine he had to be putting in so much work and effort to get in, as a 36-year-old, to get in shape to play professional basketball with these young kids who are probably like early 20s. I don't know much about that Africa Basketball League, but hey, like, pretty dope. Having some diverse interests and some pretty cool ones, I would say, to be getting involved with for him. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's pretty cool. I never would have thought, like, that's very surprising.
Yeah, I had a feeling you weren't aware of it, but I saw it on.
Yeah, definitely not. That's a pretty funny surprise.
Yeah, I saw it through like Twitter from ESPN, I think, and some other like different places had tweeted it out, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm saving that for the pod.
Nice. There you go. That's sweet.
So that kind of knocks out that initial stuff we wanted to talk about. Now getting into kind of the meat of the episode, our usual. We've got some F1, some news, race coming up this weekend. F1 news, we had Lando Norris today he putting pen to paper, inking his name on a new McLaren contract. He's going to be with them till 2023, along with Danny Ricciardo, so the two will be side by side for 2 more seasons, as far as we can tell, which is really, really awesome. I'm excited for Lando. He is really proven himself as a great driver, so I'm happy for him. And
they have been looking exceptional. The McLaren car is a heater, and Lando Norris is a bullet inside of that heater.
Oh yeah.
And he's driving fast as fuck.
It's been so impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do this weekend, because with it being Monaco, with like the qualifying being so important, because the track can be pretty difficult to pass other drivers, just with the layout and everything. Lando has been, other than this past race, his qualifying has been insane. Like, he had a shot at second before his time was deleted a couple races ago. Like, he has been just, and I mean, we've talked about it in the races themselves. He's been driving like a maniac, but his qualities have been so impressive as well. So I'm looking forward to that very much this weekend. So.
Yeah, and happy to hear that he's going to be with the McLaren squad for a little while. I know we've talked before about the unfortunate nature of drivers maybe leaving or changing teams before maybe they had given a car or an engine or a team a chance. So it's nice to hear that they're sticking with this lineup for a little while, especially for, I think, fan engagement. I think it's easier for fans to stay latched to an org if they have drivers that they're like familiar with, right?
Definitely.
So that seems pretty reasonable. And then on top of it, they're drivers that have the potential to win. And it seems like McLaren has a vehicle currently that can at least place high. We haven't seen evidence of it being able to win yet, but it can at least place high. And I think that is incredibly encouraging, which gives an even brighter note to a contract extension through 2023, because it seems like we just have a perfect marriage of scenarios.
Definitely. And I think with that, the sport itself is growing. Like, I have seen people from other walks of life that I wouldn't have expected to get into F1, getting into it from like the Drive to Survive series and things like that. Lando streams on Twitch in the off season. He has a lot of that like good fan building kind of aspects about his personality and his interests and everything. And so I think that's really a really good thing for McLaren to have a driver like that who's not only performing well, but is great for the brand as well, to be signed to a new contract. And then just talking about Lando, I started digging into him a bit.
Before you continue with Lando,
Gotcha.
just to kind of address one of the points that you made, speaking about Lando as a good, like, outward-facing public figure. They've got two of those now in himself and Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, how photogenic is Daniel Ricciardo? My man's always got a smile on. His merch is insane. He's got the whole YouTube channel where it's like these like short, sweet, incredibly produced videos. I think both of them are going to do a lot for the McLaren brand in general. And then also to your other point about Formula One growing, I've seen Formula One, Formula Dank as like the two top growing communities on some forum websites. So, and like consistently all the time. So it's obvious that it's just garnering new fans consistently. So yeah, that was all I would like to say. But yeah, you had done some research on Lando Norris.
Yeah, so I kind of dug into him a little bit because I've known that he was a good driver coming up through karting and everything, but I had never really looked into like how good of a driver he is, and it now after doing that makes more sense that kind of the trajectory he's had in F1 to me. So right now, just for his F1, he is currently on a 9 consecutive point finish run, which is pretty just impressive in general, alongside the fact that the McLaren is like, it's still currently a midfield car. It's still towards the top of the midfield, but with 20 drivers and 10 point spots, it's so easy for 1 in 9 races to just fall out of it. And sure. So that was impressive for one. But when I started digging into him a bit more, I found out he first was interested in motorcycle racing before he got into karting. He ended up getting into karting when he was 7 years old, in like 2006, I think. In 2014, he won the CIK FIA KF World Championship and became the youngest karting World Championship winner of ever.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, youngest karting World Championship winner.
Now is the karting championship international?
It is, yeah.
Got Japanese boys there? Okay, very cool.
So they got people from all over. 2016 finished first in both of the Formula Renault series, the Formula Renault 2.0 Euro Cup and the Formula Renault 2.0 NEC series.
Okay.
Then, on a part-time schedule, finished 8th in the European Formula 3 series. So he didn't drive all the races, and like throughout the season still was able to finish 8th just because of the amount of points he got in those races.
Wow. So that means he was putting up serious numbers in the races he did make it to.
Yeah, so he was...
That's very cool.
He was getting points like throughout. 2017, he won the European Formula 3 Championship by 53 points, which in Formula 3, it's a little bit easier to win by a decent number of points, I guess, just because there's 30 races, but he won 9 of the 30 races, so he almost won a third of them.
Now, what year was this? I'm sorry.
This is 2017.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So he won 9 of the 30. He podiumed in 20 of the 30 races.
Wow.
And then the following year, moving from Formula 3 to Formula 2, he finished in second, only to another Formula 1 driver, George Russell. So,
wow.
Second in Formula 2. In 2018, he also was taken on, did some reserve and test driving for McLaren. He had been signed as a junior driver by McLaren in 2017, and so they gave him one day of testing to drive and get some laps in, and then ended up getting signed straight to the McLaren squad in 2019. Right into F1. So his rookie year on one of the big, more historic organizations in F1, alongside Carlos Sainz. Finished 11th that year in the standings as a rookie. Finished 9th in the driver's standings last year for McLaren, along with McLaren finishing 3rd in the constructors. And so his career trajectory is just, it has been up, up, up. And I think we're still at this point continuing to see him go up and continuing to improve as a driver and impress just in general. His career, just looking through all those things, I'm like, this man has just been just killing it in every single level that he has been at. So it was pretty wild, looking through and just seeing all these statistics and digging into when he won the Formula 3 championship, going through and looking at all the races and finishes and stuff like that. And he was racing against people like Callum Ilott, who's a reserve driver, Mick Schumacher, George Russell, George Russell wasn't Formula 3. Who else? There were a few other, pretty decently known names in the Formula 1, Formula 2 community that I was and he was just, kicking them. So.
Oh wow, nice. That's pretty sweet. I wasn't aware that his trajectory was so explosive. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Just a side note. Maybe bring your mic a little bit closer. You're cutting out at some certain points.
Gotcha. We'll see how that goes. I'll point it a little bit more.
Hell yeah.
So.
But no, I didn't realize that we were really dealing with such a phenom. I guess I had just taken everything at face value as far as like current, like most recent results. I haven't done too much research into like where they had come from. So to see him up where he is in the standings, and then knowing that background, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. Like this kid just knows how to win.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting because. Okay, so now my question to you is then how far away are we from Orlando Norris like really pushing for contention at the top of the field?
Um, I could see it probably in maybe 2 years, like when he's coming his contract year 2023 season. Because right now I expect him to be probably right around maybe fifth in the constructors, which is another jump from going 11th as a rookie to ninth last season in a kind of weird season. I could see him jumping up to maybe fifth, sixth in the drivers, like continue.
Yeah.
And so it also does come down to a little bit if McLaren is able to continue putting as good a car out with some of the regulation changes coming up. But as far as I can see, I don't imagine that being an issue. So I could very easily see that being him having a shot in a year or two, and kind of he is currently 21 years old, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
21, gonna be I think 22 this year. I'm pretty sure I saw he was a 99 baby. So yeah, like he is an extremely young driver who has a lot of room to grow in his experience, but even with as little experience as he has, like wildly impressive how well he's done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So very, very cool kind of digging into that. Another very cool McLaren thing that we saw this week, though, was their livery that they're going to be using for Monaco, which is it's Gulf Oil inspired. One of their title, or not title sponsors, but one of their sponsors, going with a retro look, which is pretty cool looking. What did you think when they announced that, and kind of I'm looking forward to it personally. I think they did a really good job putting it together, and it looks pretty sick.
I was hoping that we were gonna see Zach Brown in a suit, tie, and shirt get up that matched the livery. So obviously I was hoping for an all white suit with an orange tie. He did not do that, so
Slightly disappointed.
needless to say, I'm slightly disappointed. But overall, the livery is quite impressive. I like the orange on white. It's quite clean. The front, wing scoop area looks pretty dope.
Well, and I think it's actually like like maybe almost it's like a almost baby blue, not quite white either, which is kind of
okay.
cool.
So the lighting I'm looking at is a bit weird then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's almost like it's a really light baby blue.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm seeing that. All right.
So, but still, like very
Pretty
cool.
dope.
They've got some retro helmets that I'll send you a quick link here. Some retro
Yeah, I didn't
helmets
see the
to
helmets.
go along with it.
Ooh. It looks like rims. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the way that they did it, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be cool to see that zipping around the track this weekend. So
Sure.
excited for
Now,
that.
I'll say this. Excuse me. The thing that impresses me is that they get these new helmets all the time. It's almost like yeah, I don't know. I'll say it like this. I don't know why that surprises me so much. Obviously, there's so much money in the sport. They could all have 10 helmets per race, I'm sure. But I do find it a pretty cool element that they do get to change their helmets up all the time, especially because it's like the only thing that you see like sitting there in the car. So it is like a nice little like centerpiece to the vehicle that they're able to create because it is just like right there in the car, and especially this the Lando Norris helmet is pretty fucking clean. I like that a whole lot.
Oh yeah. The one thing that I was kind of like in my mind I was curious about is so like NHL goalies have their masks obviously, and a lot of them get them painted in
Dude,
like
they're
some
so sick.
they are, and they like paint them in all these crazy ways and everything. And I feel like I haven't seen that from like most of the Formula 1 helmets. They're very like kind of like larger sections of color, not too much like fine detail. And
Right.
I mean, my only thought is they're flying around the track so fast, like people aren't going to be able to see those fine details. But that was one of my thoughts. I'm like, wouldn't it be
Like when your helmet is getting a close up?
like,
Yeah, you could get a sick helmet.
yeah, because I like there's some being, and I'm an Anaheim Ducks fan for hockey, and some of the Ducks goalies have had some really, really cool helmets with like one a couple years back. The goalie had a like silhouette of the beach with palm trees, so like the palm trees and the sand were silhouetted, and then it had like the sunset in the background. There are like some really cool like artistic things you can do with helmets like that, and I think it would be cool for some of the drivers to go for something like that instead of some of the more like basic, I guess, kind of things that they do. Not that I think their helmets are bad. I think it would just be a kind of cool thing to see some more detail that maybe related to like where they were racing, since like you said, they change their helmets almost oftentimes like for a number of different races. Like got a Monaco helmet that's got like a yacht coming in on it, or like something cool that signifies like where they're racing or wherever.
Right.
So
now I'm curious, because it feels like Lewis just has like a glittery helmet all the time. You know, it's surprising that you wouldn't get some of them working with artists or like trying to put on some new artist that they met and really love, like, oh, they did my helmet piece. Like I feel like they're missing out on a whole maybe a whole world of like design space, and especially for dudes like Lando, Danny, Lewis, like dudes like Valtteri, Max don't really care, but there's like a whole subsection of these guys that are like fashion forward and love the way they look, and they always have the 6 shades on and the fucking, the bling bling and whatever. So yeah, I think overall they're just missing out on some great design space, especially when they fuck with the liveries all the time and change up the flavor of their vehicle. Sure, I'm totally with you. Yeah, they're missing out, bro. We could see some sick helmets.
yeah, I really think that's the thing. Like a lot of the goalies in hockey, they'll like post at the beginning of the season like, oh, like this is my helmet for the upcoming season designed by this person, but they'll sporadically throughout the season have different ones that they'll throw on and whatnot. I think it's a really cool aspect of that. And honestly, I think Lando is one of the drivers who's done it more. Like last year, I think it was last year, he had the helmet that was designed. It was like in a McLaren contest. It was like an elementary schooler designed it and wrote like his name on it and everything. And,
Oh, wow.
And like, let me see if I can find it for you. But he seems to be someone who has been more like willing to do something like that, and it was cool. I liked they took this kid's drawing, and I just linked you. They took this kid's drawing and like turned it into a helmet. It's got like a little kid drew a little race car on the back of it that you can't see in that picture I linked you, but like he did the LN Lando's like
Right,
logo
right.
and all. Like it was.
Oh my God! Look at that, Lando Norris, and he didn't have enough room because he drew the car there, so the S is like below it.
Yeah, and
That is the most adorable thing I've ever seen.
at the bottom it says
I love it.
it has his name and everything. It says bye and then the kid's name, which I don't want to butcher
Aaron. It looks like Aaron.
like Era Matrum. I said I wasn't gonna butcher it, but then I just did. So,
Dude, shout out Aaron Muftrum. That's how it looks like you wrote it on this helmet. So hopefully your handwriting is better by now, Aaron. But goddamn, that is an adorable helmet.
yeah, and so there's like stuff like that. Even though that's not a like you're having like a crazy artist come up with some sick design and everything. Like you said with Max, like. I love Max, but man, his helmet, he's using basically the same one year after year, just the white helmet with the gold lion on it, which is like, it looks awesome, but like you could be so, like, you could do so much with those designs and come up with some like you could have a helmet that literally looks like a lion's head and you're like, your face mask is like the mouth on it or something. Like you can come up with some. Like, artists are so talented to be able to come up with that stuff. I would love to see that a bit more in F1.
Well, and then not even the and this is just like a whole angle, like a whole nother angle of the same kind of coin is maybe not even like these new artists and whatever. That's a fun angle of it, but like going this route where like what a cool way to shout out your fans and like give a like clear, distinct link to the people that like follow you and support you and love you as a racer. Like, how cool would it be? Like, hey, every race or every whatever, how many special races they can have or special helmets they can have, I don't know. But like, what if there's a world where it's like, hey, submit your art. We'll like the driver will pick the one that he likes the best, and ultimately what they do is have a team of guys that narrow it down to 5. Then Lando would be like, yeah, that one's cool, and then like bam, this like fans art is on the helmet. Like, what a cool way to connect with the fans. Obviously it's like such a small thing just on the helmet, but again, like I think there's a whole world of possibilities with just like that space, the design space on a helmet.
Oh, 100%. I mean, 23 races this season, and like you could so easily do that for 2 of them. Like, and it would be such a cool thing. Like,
oh, I know. You feel like those people would just be like,
I mean, you could
like immortalized in F1. Really
can like do it for different causes, auction off the helmets afterward. Like, there are so many different things you could do with it, and like
make them collector's pieces or make them like a bit of some history for like a philanthropic organization, like you were saying.
Yeah,
like have some kind of like fundraiser for the. Hey, we're going to donate all this money to, water in Africa or whatever, and you could buy Lewis Hamilton's 100th win, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, like, I think it would be really cool to do stuff like that. So, I guess we'll see.
Agreed.
But I thought that livery that they came out with for this race, the retro helmets, the retro look, like, all of it, I'm excited to see how it's zipping around the track. Like, the McLaren look is really cool already. Having that like pastel blue along with the orange, it's gonna look pretty slick.
So. Yeah, I'm just overall excited for this week's race. Now, we are at Monaco this weekend. I've seen the pictures rolling in of all of the yachts, the hundreds of yachts that are now in the port there for the Monaco Grand Prix. This is going to be a good weekend. What do you think?
No, it's going to be awesome. And I told you I did some digging on some past races and some history of Monaco as well. And this race is, I think, part of what has made it, even though I know I've said that it's not as... The track itself is not as easy to pass on and things like that, it has nonetheless had a number of pretty historic moments, races, finishes, things like that have been pretty exciting pieces of F1 history. And so, like, getting into that a little bit and looking at some of the history, I was looking at some of the more famous races. Monaco 1992 was one that came up that kind of stuck out. So Nigel Mansell, who is one of the greats of F1 in history, has never won at Monaco. He never won. He, in the 92 Monaco Grand Prix, was leading for 70 out of the 78 laps and had one of the wheel nuts for one of his wheels come loose, so he had to pit and ended up coming in second to Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna, as another famous F1 driver, holds the record for the most wins at Monaco. He has won there 6 times, 5 consecutive races.
Oh, wow.
From 1989 through 93, won back to back to back to back to back.
That's impressive, man. Holy shit. Now, was that with qualifying on pole as well?
I don't know for sure. I didn't dig that
fine.
deep, but
that's all right.
A couple of, like, there are a number of people who have had, like, just great success at Monaco. Graham Hill, who had 14 Formula One victories in his career, 5 of them were at Monaco. Michael Schumacher has 5 wins at Monaco as well. Alan Prost and a couple others, Sterling Moss, Jackie Stewart. Alan Prost won 4 times. Sterling Moss, Jackie Stewart won 3. Lewis Hamilton has 3 wins at Monaco. Like, it is it seems like one of those races where certain drivers just seem to have consistent success, which is, it's pretty cool. And it's a very unique, like, not just track, but the fact that it is a street circuit. But I feel like in general, the experience of Monaco is kind of on another level. People coming in on yachts, like, you're in Monte Carlo, this beautiful, like ocean seafront area. It's just awesome.
Well, and I know we had been talking to kind of complement your point about the spectacle that Monaco is in the F1 schedule. It's one of the most watched races outside of normal fandom, right? It's the race that brings the most non-F1 fan eyes to the sport of F1.
It's like the Indy 500 or the, like...
Sure. Or like the Super Bowl. I could give a fuck about football, but you may catch me watching a Super Bowl on a year. You know, it's something to behold, it's something to be had. And let me tickle your back with this and see if I can make you scratch. So I was listening to Dave Chappelle on Joe Rogan, and he said something that struck me so true. I felt akin to Dave Chappelle in that moment. If me and him have nothing else in common, we have this thing in common, and this is fact. He said that I learned quick that if you have a chance to witness greatness, you should probably sit down and take a look.
Okay.
And I feel like not only is that, I would say, probably a general theme of our podcast, but it's something that I've found I hit at in all of the things that I enjoy, is I often could give a fuck about some of the minutia. Often I'm there to see the best person do that thing at a high level, right? And there's something about watching a person perform at that level that's like awe-inspiring. It's like life-changing in some way, right? So just like him, I'm very much of a subscriber to that idea where if I'm in a position to witness greatness, I'm gonna do it as much as I can. And I think that's, the fascination with Lewis and Max. That was my fascination with Faker. That's my fascination with Sullivan, the famous snooker player. Like, it's why watch somebody do something mediocre when you can watch greatness, like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, fucking Tiger Woods in golf, like any of these people.
And
Bear witness to greatness, man.
And you see a lot of people subscribing to that same thing in the fact that, like, you mentioned Tiger Woods. Like, any tournament that Tiger Woods plays in has more viewership than a typical golf tournament. Most people don't want to sit down on their Sunday and watch the fourth round of the PGA tournament, whatever weekend it is.
Right,
and
but they'll watch Tiger Woods play golf.
They will.
Right?
They'll watch Tiger Woods. And so, like, I agree. Watching people be the best at their craft is awe-inspiring, impressive, awesome in so many aspects. It's really, really cool, and I enjoy that so much as well, which is like Formula One is, in most people's eyes, the best drivers in the world, being extremely successful. Roman Grosjean was driving, or is in IndyCar now, and he was having
He had a great week this week, by the way.
Yeah, but he, like, in just the qualifying and the like practice sessions and all for this past race, he was smoking people.
Right.
And I'm like, this guy, like, yeah, like, he was on Haas for F1 and he didn't look super impressive, but he is a fucking good driver, and he, like, still has it. Crazy accident, doesn't matter. Man is out there driving like a fiend, and like that's a cool thing about F1. You literally are watching a lot of these guys are the best drivers in the world, which is I love watching stuff like that.
I agree. Agree.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, and that was, kind of in line with, I just wanted to mention when you were talking about, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna and all these, great historic names in the sport. Now, I can't claim to, have watched these guys race all that much. I've probably seen, one of Prost's races, one of, Senna's races, this and that, just watch them from the archive. But there is something about like all of those guys have won multiple times at this race. So there is something, it's got that, and I'm, here, I'll be a little French bastard here, but it's got a certain je ne sais quoi about it, right? Like,
it does.
It's not an F1 season if you haven't had the Monaco race, and this is how I understand it.
Definitely. And the Monaco race itself is also it has some drama in its history too. There have been some just insane accidents that have happened at it. There was one I was watching, F1 has some videos on YouTube. It's like the 5 craziest moments at Monaco or something like that. There was one in, I think it was the early 2000s. A Honda engine basically went up in flames, was billowing smoke out the back to the point other drivers couldn't see. One of the drivers ended up flipping his car off of another driver and being completely upside down on the track, like crazy things. But I mean, Michael Schumacher in one of the qualifying for Monaco, he was on provisional pole for qualifying, and then on one of his, like, the last lap for qualifying, who knows if it was intentional or if it was on accident, fucked up one of the turns and basically ended up putting his car next to the wall where he couldn't really move it very well, and screwing all the drivers who were behind him going on their fast lap to try and beat him in qualies, which ended up guaranteeing him pole position. Because it was the last lap. It caused all this uproar from other drivers. Like, did he do it on purpose? Did he not? Yeah, that was I think.
Now, had he been I'm sorry, this is a bad question. Had he been known to do shit like that before?
Do
F1 drivers do that shit? Because we've never seen that in a race.
So things like this occasionally happen, where there have been times where someone has crashed out while other drivers are going for their final quali lap, and ended up the drivers behind them, because they're under safety car or virtual safety car, they slow down and can't get their lap in. That happens. This he kind of just fucked up and parked it alongside just the side of the track on one of the turns, and no one could really get by until he cleared out. And so this was the 06 Monaco Grand Prix, which some of the other drivers Jacques Villanueva and some of the other famous drivers were this man, if he doesn't know how to do this, shouldn't be driving in F1. Fuck this guy. And this was when Michael Schumacher had been driving for a decade at least.
Right,
and fuck this. But
well, these guys are no stranger to the shit talk, man. They call each other the worst of names.
Yeah, but then that same Grand Prix, during the actual Grand Prix, this is just another reason you all know, everyone who's listening and has heard me talk about it, you all know how much I fucking love Kimi Räikkönen.
Hell yeah.
2006 Monaco Grand Prix. Kimi ends up having his engine fail during the race, retires from the race.
What lap was it?
I don't know, but instead of going back to the paddock, instead of going back to the garage, man hops out of his car, walks over to his yacht with his boys who are there from Finland watching him, gets changed into fucking comfy clothes, and then continues to just get fucked up on his yacht with his friends.
In view of an F1 turn.
In the bay or the docking area right by the track.
It's just right there.
Hops on his yacht, walks off the track, still in helmet, full suit, everything. Hops on the yacht, gets up there, and just drinks with his boys.
That's amazing.
The race is not finished yet. He's just chilling.
We're talking minutes after he DNFs.
Yeah,
he's on his yacht drinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, I've seen the clip. It's fucking hilarious. My boy.
An amazing, just another amazing reason to love Kimi. But
right.
But that coming to more recent races, just Monaco, I'm excited to see this year, because the 3 of the most recent 4 races have all been pretty wild. With how they've finished. In 2016, Danny Ricciardo was leading the majority of the race for Red Bull. Comes into the pit stop, has plenty of time. He gets called in by the team, gets in, they jack him up, take the tires off, and the 4 tires that they were supposed to put on were not there. The pit crew didn't have them out. They are running out, pulling them out of the heating pads that are on the tires, throw them on. He gets out, ends up coming out of the pits just behind Lewis after a probably 15-second pit stop. He was far enough ahead that he was able to come into the pits, have this crazy long pit stop, and then just barely come out behind Lewis. Lewis goes on to win the race. 2018, Danny Ricciardo comes back, has a phenomenal race, wins Monaco 2018 with the Red Bull. 2019, we had some drama, an early safety car causing teams to pit. We've got Lewis and Valtteri hopping on the mediums for a really long stint. Everyone else who came in is throwing the hard tires on to last them out. Max was going after Lewis, made some contact with Valtteri, ends up with a 5-second penalty, pushing, trying to get past Lewis constantly as Lewis is on these dead tires so that he can get past Lewis to first and hopefully get a 5-second lead on him to avoid his penalty affecting it. Can't get past him. Like, bumps Lewis at one point trying to get by and couldn't get past him. Like, there has been some excitement in recent races, and, like, I am looking forward to this weekend. Like, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, the element of it that makes it the thing that I keep seeing when you say the word bumping is just the curbs and the metal walls that are right up against the track, and that's the danger / excitement element that you get with these street circuits like Monaco and your Bakus. They're so tight and they're so fast. Like, Monaco is three, like, really, well, I guess it's like 2.5 really fast sections, and then you have that really intricate section of corners where I believe that's the slowest corner in F1. I think they're down in first gear when they're going around like
barely rolling around that turn.
right, like real slow. But then aside from that, you have that insane shoot down the bridge into the chicane. You have the 90-degree there, and then the back half. Like, it is a booming track. I cannot stress how fast it is. So the juxtaposition, I'll use a movie word, the juxtaposition of the tight fucking track and the high speed straights with these like really dangerous chicanes makes for a track like no other. And yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, to everyone listening, Saturday, we're doing our bonus episode for qualifying, not the race. We're trying something new. We're going to follow along live with the qualifying. Look for that video on Saturday evening. Straight after, we'll have it up that night. So that is tall and short of it. Bonus episode, qualifying companion. Yep. Check it out for Saturday.
And so the reasoning for that, for everyone, is really that qualifying itself does make a huge difference in the race. Like we've said, Max having trouble getting past Lewis. Like, once the race starts, other than major fuck-ups in the pit stops and weird things happening, safety cars, accidents, like, it is very tough to pass people on that track with how high speed it is, with how tight it is. Like, there's no big sweeping outside turn that you can try and make these moves on like you see in a normal race. So with how important qualifying is to this race, we really want to highlight that for this one as opposed to the race itself.
Yeah, very well said.
We, of course, will still be watching the race and enjoying that and talking about it on next week's episode, seeing how things shake out. But yeah, looking forward to qualies. Also, in case people didn't realize, today is Wednesday night. Tomorrow, Thursday morning, is the first practice and second practice. There's no practice session on Friday at all. So you probably won't catch us before those are done. But Friday, no practice sessions. Saturday, bright and early, 6 a.m. Eastern Time, practice number 3, 9 a.m. qualifying, and then 9 a.m. race on Sunday. So.
Hell yeah. Okay. Damn, 6 a.m. for free practice 3. I feel like I'm gonna have to tune into that.
I may have to try and get up bright and early and hit that. So
Yeah, I'm really thinking about it. Because I feel like the practice is an interesting prelude to. It's definitely an interesting prelude to the qualifying, just as much as the qualifying, tells an interesting prelude to the race, and about the F1 weekends, just from a like fan perspective, and then we will move to a short break. The race used to be really exciting to me, and like, oh, whatever, practice on Friday, I'll like Google what happened in qualifying, and then we're here for the race. Like, that's kind of how my weekends would go. But now I'm like, yeah, 6 a.m. that seems doable for just a practice. You know what I mean? Like, no implications at all. So I think I say that to say that my fandom is growing a little bit.
You're hooked.
I'm definitely hooked.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's grown it for me as well. I love watching the qualifying, and like the practice sessions, if I'm able to catch them with work and everything, are awesome. But qualifying is really fun to watch. So I'm excited to be doing the bonus episode for that this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. Look for that on Saturday. We will be right back to talk about this weekend's MSI matches. Don't go anywhere. Now, after the break, we would like to talk about the MSI matches that we had from this weekend. So we were still in the Rumble stages, which was best of 1. We saw Pentanet Gaming. We saw Royal. We saw Damwon Gaming. We saw Cloud9 and Mad Lions, and I'm missing one, PSG Talon. We saw all 6 teams go head-to-head, play each other twice in the second double round robin in the Rumble stage. Now, a lot of matches to go through. Obviously, that means every team played 10 games.
Yep.
So that's a lot of games to go through. I don't think we have the time here, being that we are North American fans. That's likely going to be the angle that we're coming at this from. However, overall, let's talk about the standings, how it shook out, and maybe just get some initial impressions.
Yeah. So just a little shake up in the standings for this round compared to what I think we expected. We ended up with Damwon Gaming Kia at the top of the standings, going 8-2 in the Rumble stage. Royal Never Give Up RNG finishing 7-3. PSG Talon 6-4 in third place. Fourth place, Mad Lions going 5-5. C9 unfortunately not getting past the group stage or the Rumble stage to the knockouts, going 3-7. A little disappointing, but we'll get into that a bit more. And then at the bottom we had Pentanet.gg 1-9, who as the only team from any Oceanic league, OPL or the current league, to make it past the first round of a international event, they picked up a win, and it was off Cloud9, but nonetheless they got a win. They made it to the second round of an international event. They didn't make it to the knockout stage, to the best of series, but that is huge. Like, a lot of those players, I think we mentioned on the last episode, are not playing full time. They are like their pay is substantially, they're a fraction of what some of these other players in the major
Right.
regions are making. And those guys came out, they got a win on the international stage, and also had some really competitive matches against some of the other teams, which was awesome to see. I thought it was cool to see, yeah, like one of the smaller regions really stand up and perform pretty admirably. So
Yeah, to see them take the game off of Cloud9, I have to say was pretty disappointing, to be honest, especially just like from a perspective, Cloud9 probably should have won that game. But from a macro perspective and for the region and the team, yeah, kudos to them. I didn't really think they were gonna A, get out of groups originally, or B, take a game in the Rumble stage once they did. It just seemed like the competition was a little stiff. And then on top of that, like the significant like role skill differences, that factors in heavily. You know, I don't think any of the players on Pentanet were even top three at any of the roles as far as in the general tournament. So to see them make it as far as they did against some of the competition that they did, kudos to them, man. It was a delight to watch them play, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of those players in the future. But yeah, sorry to see Cloud9 go home.
yeah, and I mean, so I think the part of that was unfortunately the most disappointing about Cloud9 losing was how Cloud9 had been performing previously to that match against Pentanet that day. They had beat RNG, one of the favorites to win the tournament. I think a lot of people's favorite coming out of the first stage, having
Right.
gone through undefeated 8-0. Cloud9
Talk about a trap game, right? Like you beat RNG. Like in my head, I was like, oh, it's game over for the other one.
right, and so that would have put the Cloud9 at a point where they were, I believe they would have been 3 and, I have to double check myself. Maybe it would have been.
I think they would have been
2 and 3.
2 and 3 if they won that.
Yeah, and so they had,
And that would have put them in control of their own destiny and not have to worry about other teams' records.
Right.
It would have been purely off their own backs that they could have gotten out.
yes. So,
But with that loss, it became a story about the other teams having to lose and then them getting the head-to-head, right?
yeah, and so
Some shakeout like that.
they so at that point Cloud9 would have been actually so that would have been their second win. So they would have been at that point 2 and 4 if they had
2
won
and
that.
4.
So
Okay,
they
gotcha.
got behind so drastically, going 0 and 4 in the first games, that like really that was desperately needed for them to be in contention to have a shot at that. And they just weren't able to shake it out. But speaking on the other teams, I have to say, like I said with Pentanet being like playing impressively close with some teams and taking that win off Cloud9, PSG Talon, not that I expected them to do poorly, but they really, really, really impressed me throughout the tournament, as well as Mad Lions up to this point. Like, those teams really performed well in a lot of games, and even though Mad Lions ended with that 5-5 record, like some of their games that, like, when they have everything clicking, along with PSG, both of those teams, when they're clicking and they're on their form, they can beat the best in the world, no question. They were phenomenal in a lot of their games. And I think the only issues that they have is some of the inconsistency that we saw, which was them dropping some of those games that maybe they shouldn't, or losing leads that they should have been able to keep, and things like that. But those teams performed so well and 100% deserved it to make it to the knockout and the semifinals over Cloud9 and Pentanet. So I was very, very impressed with them.
And to the degree that it makes me believe we will see great best of fives from the teams that did make it out. In no way do I want this to be a morning for Cloud9, and even though they didn't get out, make it about them. It's just to say that there were certain things that they could have done better, but we are looking forward to the teams that did make it out and will continue to watch the tournament with the same vigor that we did even when Cloud9 was in. I think with the teams that we have making it out, which is Damwon, RNG, PSG Talon, and Mad Lions, the 4 teams going into the best of 5 stage, I think those series will offer some great games. Now, what do we know about the format in the sense that one gets to pick their opponent? So one is Damwon Gaming. Who do you think Damwon Gaming picks?
Well, so they made the picks actually. I'm not sure when it happened, but I was looking at the schedule and they do have the matchups.
Oh, fuck. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so Damwon will be facing against Mad Lions, and that's going to be on Saturday.
Interesting.
And we have RNG versus PSG on Friday night, or Friday morning, 9 a.m.
Gotcha.
So,
This Friday.
So
very cool.
2 days from now. We may not have F1 on Friday, but we have MSI. So
competition all the time.
Yes, sir. So
nice. Okay, cool.
One thing that I really was impressed by throughout, just through the Rumble stage with PSG's performance was Maple. And I know a lot of people may know Maple from being a LMS player who has had a lot of experience at Worlds, international tournaments, but the fact that he has been around for as long as he has and is continuing to perform on the world stage to the degree that he has is just wildly impressive. Like there are very few players in League of Legends in general that have been playing as long as he has, and very few that have been able to keep up that level of skill over that period of time. So,
right. Like, let's not forget, Maple was the Flash Wolves mid laner which was the team that could consistently take boards off of top Korean teams at international tournaments.
Yep.
It was him, Karsa, Stake. I forget what their bottom lane was. I'm sure if you said the name, it would hit me like a brick. But like, they were part of the squad that could take boards off of these top Korean teams, and that says something about the kind of player that you are and the type of training that you're able to do, where you're able to meet these players in the arena that they deserve to be played against, right? Some matchups do not feel like an even matchup, but Maple, along with the teams that he's been on, have been able to put up significant performances against teams where they might have been the underdog.
Yeah, well, and so speaking on the names that you were kind of mentioning, Stake, Karsa, Maple, and then their bot lane was NL and another big name.
Sword Art.
Yep, that everyone should know.
That's right.
So, I mean, just...
Well, and then Stake went to the coaching position, correct, for that organization, not necessarily the team that Maple's on now.
And is currently one of the coaches for Fun Plus Phoenix in the LPL.
Right. Okay. So yeah,
So
the LMS region has some serious like infrastructure going on.
yeah, Karsa is
To
still
where
playing in jungle for top esports. He's still
okay.
a professional, like a very good professional player. NL has retired, but Sword Art, of course, playing for TSM now. So like these players have gone on to be very, very successful, and Maple has had some extreme longevity, which I think he is kind of very key in PSG's team. Like
Oh,
he was
100%. Oh, 100%. He's playing to the level of the other mid laners at the tournament.
he is not. Yeah, he's on even footing with all of those players. Like
Oh, 100%.
he's not. He's just good. He's really damn good.
I
So
agree.
that's going to be fun to watch, and also the fact that I think the PSG game versus or PSG series versus RNG is going to be an exciting semifinals. Is the game that PSG won against RNG was like they dominated that game pretty heavily in that first matchup. They got the lead early and snowballed so hard. They didn't give RNG an opportunity to get back in that game. Like, just everything from that team was so good. And I think for me, Kai Wing was also extremely impressive in that game on the Nautilus. Like the man's hooks that was point and click. That wasn't a skill shot.
Right. Well, and that was going to be like really my main point for this Rumble stage, and I would say just this MSI in general is the support pool is so deep. We have some great support players at this tournament, and it can be such an influential role that it's fun to see. It's fun to see these players in a traditionally like unfavored role. And obviously you see my eye roll and you see my air quotes, but like it's great to see the Nautilus and the Alistar and see the player at the bottom of the roster being the one that's setting up these plays, being the one to really bring these fights home for the teams. I know in the games that Cloud9 looked good, it's when Vulcan was playing Alistar, getting the headbutt pulverizing gauges, Ming on Nautilus. Like that pick has been insane throughout the whole tournament.
Yeah.
I would argue that that's something teams have to watch out for depending on the support player they're playing against. The Nautilus just seems absolutely destructive. A point and click CC for the 80 carry in the back line that you don't have to be that close to, and then this just devastating hook plus the fucking bap you into the ground. He seems like the perfect playmaker, and these players are just using him to an incredible fashion, which makes these pick and bans so much more devastating in a meta where you have flex pick champions that can go up to 4 roles. You have these must ban champions for certain players, for certain roles. You have to be careful of certain matchups. The pick ban is so dense for this tournament because I feel like the support meta is so dense and so deep because we have such skilled playmaking support players in the tournament right now, that it's hard to send 3 bans mid lane when Alistar, Thresh, Nautilus are perfectly reasonable bans this stage in the tournament.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Like we've seen the meta evolve, and I'm going to look forward to seeing some of these support matchups because I think it is going to be so pivotal moving forward as we get into these best of fives, where the pick ban is a living, breathing creature, right
100%.
outside of the match.
And I think that with the teams that are left in, you could argue that the supports could potentially be some of the best players that are left in these, like, just in the player pool that are continuing forward. Like, Kaiser has been talked about a number of times as being potentially the best support at this tournament with how well he's been playing, with how
and him and Carzy are just popping off in these fights.
And they got 2v2 killed in every game of the LEC finals by Rogue. They lost the 2v2 in every game of that finals and were able to come out with the 3-2 win in that series. But in MSI, they have looked like just incredible. And Kaiser has continued to just perform, to prove himself. For the other teams, the other supports, Barrel for Damwon Kia, Ming, like you mentioned, for RNG, Kaiwing for PSG. Like, they are contending as the MVPs of their team. And I think
depending on what you value in players most.
Yeah, but I mean, just in general with their performances, like, I would say they have definitely matched or stood up to those expectations or thoughts of them being one of the best on their team, if not the best.
And it's and I think you're complimenting my point very well, where it's so easy to look like a god at the support role when you get to play things like Nautilus, Thresh, Alistar, Leona, the fucking Rel. Like, you get to look like a god when you play those champions.
You have so much impact.
Exactly.
So much impact.
Like, there are champions that are like a do-nothing 4-mana enchantment in Commander, where they just, like, if they get that right situation where it sticks and, like, you get a turn or two with it, like, sure, it may get you a lot of value, but most of the time it's just like a big nothing in that slot, right? And when you get, you know, despite like a Soraka and an Ayrton Senna meta, like, whatever, but it's so easy to look like one of the better players on your team when you get to choose the fights that your team has, right? You know, I'm just thinking of all of the amazing Nautilus re-engages, or you step too close, now you're getting depth charged. Like, it's so easy to play that just meat wall in the meta with these champions, with the way that the pick ban is going, and I'm fucking loving it. It's so great to watch we know the support role is a heady role. We know it's a comm heavy role. We know it's a actually mechanically intense role, being that they have to play the 2v2, right? The 2v2 is insanely complex. It's insanely complex. So you want to see your support players be superhuman in a way, right? And we're seeing
up to
a meta
task of it being that valuable especially in this meta. Yeah.
Right. And not only are they're doing all of that in-game stuff, on top of that, they're having to control the engages and control the fights. Like, it is astounding to watch, and I think a little bit underrated how supports are sometimes viewed within the game. Everybody loves talking about the Canyons and the Showmakers and the Fakers and the Cons of the world. Like, yeah, we all love a solo bolo or whatever the fuck they're calling it nowadays. But, like, at the end of the day, it's the Baron calls, the Rift Heralds, and the Dragon setups that are going to win you the game. And these support players are doing it, and it is a treat to watch. Hook champions, What gets better than that, dude?
Like Thresh gets banned out in almost every game. It's awesome. Like I I love seeing that.
What's crazy with champions like that was like how obscene their kit is in a competitive environment.
Oh, yeah.
Like every other champion just is B tier compared to Lantern, Hook, Flay, plus the infinite stacking of tankiness as the game goes on. Like,
Yeah.
what can get better than that, man? The box is insane team fight control. You have so much lane presence, and in the hands of somebody like a Barrel or a Kaiwing or a Kaiser, these players are they're gonna do amazing things with it, and they're gonna give you a bad day.
Oh,
you know?
100%.
I love the pick ban that we're dealing with in the support meta.
Oh, absolutely. It's so fun to watch.
Bit of a deep dive right there.
No, 100%, but I think it's going to come into play big time in the semifinals. I think that's going to be really important, getting on some comfortable and impactful picks in the support role. I did, and I know we both kind of did want to get into Cloud9 a little bit, being the NA fanboys that we are.
Well, yeah, because honestly, I think even outside of just like that being our bread and butter, I actually think there's a lot to talk about there with the maybe using them as an example for the region. I don't think it's not worth talking about. So yeah, hit me. Where do you want to start with Cloud9?
Well, so I think the big aspects that I wanted to talk about were, first off, they were very close to make it, even though their record does not really look like it. They were very, very close to making it to the knockout stage. That's not my NA fanboy in me coming out. That's not whatever.
No, there were a lot of games where they had it.
There were very few, I'd say maybe 2 games throughout this stage of 10 that they did not have a good shot of winning. They could have very easily have 2-0'd RNG in this round of the matchups. RNG only won the first game because they were able to get a very, very well pulled off backdoor that they were able to go. Like
dude, yeah, what a heartbreak on that one.
The game, Cloud9 had 14 kills to 8. They were down a few towers and they were down 300 gold when the game ended. Like, they were even in Dragons, even in Barons, like so close in that game, and RNG made the right calls, got the backdoor, and won that game. Without that happening, Cloud9 goes 2-0 against RNG in the Rumble stage. They were right with Mad Lions in the first game until a disastrous team fight around one of the objectives. I can't remember exactly which one, whether it was Baron or Dragon, but they were like tight in that game, and then all of a sudden it just exploded when Mad won a big team fight. Like, they were in all of those games very tightly, and like performed so well. But I think, like you said, it does speak to kind of NA as a whole. They are currently just that little step behind a lot of the other major regions. They weren't able to close out those games. They had that little bit of just lag that not obviously lag, but like just mental lag or just being slightly behind the 8 ball on being able to close out these games, that they were performing really well. They were having good setups, and they just couldn't get over the hump. And I think that is partially because of some of the inexperience of some of the players on the international stage playing against really, really quality competition. I mean, Fudge improved immensely throughout the tournament, but he definitely had his moments where he faltered. Perks played pretty well, but I mean, against some of the best mids in the world, he was going even. Like, he wasn't able to be the hard carry. His synergy with Blabber was a little bit behind.
Well, I think Blabber was the most glaring weak point for the team.
Which was surprising because he also had performances that showed how good he can be against international competition. That inconsistency.
That means the spectrum is so wide, right? Inconsistency, yeah,
and,
you got
it.
And
I think that is one of the biggest issues. The other huge issue that I had with Cloud9 was I felt like and this is probably going to pain you, Justin, but they were losing draft, as LS would say.
They were losing draft in a way that the comps would have been very difficult to play out.
Right, and that was
they were getting comfort strong champions,
right?
Just tough to play out.
Well,
let's be clear.
Oh, 100%. Comfort strong champions, tough to play out, but also some of their comps were just not. Even though the champions were strong, they weren't strong together.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And so I think that was the thing that I saw that kind of frustrated me the most throughout this stage of MSI was when they get... So, for instance, their first game against RNG, they have Sven on Tristana, Vulcan on Rel, Perks on Lee Sin, Fudge on Malphite, Blabber on Morgana. They had a very good team fight there. They have good protection for Sven with the Rel, with the Fudge being able to engage the Black Shields for Morgana. They are allowing him to sit on the outside and do damage. They have phenomenal engage between the Rel and the Malphite. They have really, that team comp was just very cohesive. But then in other games that they had, they were running things with double 80 carry comps where they don't
Which means you have 4 ranged champions in the game, because I think it was double 80 carry Jace plus Morgana and then a melee support or whatever.
Yeah.
You end up being really, you got to be poking and kite heavy, and in the meta where these teams can just walk to Baron and say fight me, it's what?
Yeah, and they were picking things that didn't have the protection that you would need for a double 80 carry comp. It's great if your 280 carries can be hitting everyone and be putting out damage, but if they are getting blown up instantly by the other team and not getting a chance to put out anything in a team fight, you lose because you're sitting there with 1 or 0 damage dealers if they both get blown up. And so there were a number of times where I think Cloud9 really failed themselves in putting together cohesive team comps through that pick ban stage, which, I mean, this is Reignover's first year as the head coach for Cloud9.
He wasn't there for the Rumble stage.
Oh, I actually missed that. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's huge.
So then, sorry, no knock to Reignover, but I wouldn't be surprised if that had a huge effect on them. I don't think that Cloud9 has a bad coaching staff in the slightest, but I think Reignover, in that case, he was able to help them get through the first stage, and then...
If anything, it indicates that they have a strong coaching staff, where it means that the team relies on something that infrastructure is giving them that aids them in the actual gameplay. It seems pretty obvious, or it seems pretty... it seems like a clear disadvantage to not have that main rock there with you up on stage when you're doing your pick band. He's a man with a notebook, dude. He's the Lemon Nation.
Yeah, and so I could honestly, I didn't even realize that, but that very easily could have been part of the difference. Like, I think that was a negative in my eyes throughout this Rumble stage, that I felt like the games that they lost were not fully because they were just getting beaten by better players or were getting beaten because they made mistakes. It was that they were getting to those crucial points in the game and their comp itself just could not compete or be as cohesive as some of the other teams' comps that they had.
The time in the game that the game was ending.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So I think that was a huge aspect for me that was disappointing, but still impressive, or not impressive, but I think extremely valuable for the team itself. Like I said, like Vulcan really has very little international experience. Blabber has
He looked amazing at this tournament, though.
He did. Blabber has very little international experience. Fudge, this is his, like, I mean, he played for the Oceanic League and has some minimal international experience, but he was getting to face Khan and some of these other top laners that are considered the best in the world, and
I think he showed up. I think he really showed up.
Improved, like you could see his improvement throughout the time there at MSI. So I'm excited to see kind of how that goes once they're back in NA for the second half of the LCS season. Not splits, just
we'll call it summer half. How about that?
Summer for the summer half.
The summer half of the season. The summer half of the 2021 season.
Exactly. So
seems like a pretty reasonable way to talk about it. Like just as like a side note.
So not to get ahead of ourselves and skip past the rest of MSI, but I do think that Cloud9 got some valuable experience through this, and hopefully by Worlds they will be able to be in a really good spot, and kind of clicking on a few more like just levels for that. So the other thing that I wanted to just briefly mention before we move on was, which I agree with, they can't have Azael casting like clutch Cloud9 games where they need to win, or if they lose they're like out.
Oh, is he caster cursing them?
No, it's not that he's caster cursing them. It's just he clearly is like he does such a good job of being unbiased, but he clearly loves NA so much and wants them to succeed that it is painful to watch when Cloud9 was losing when they lost to Pentanet. He was like, you could see he was like devastated. Like he knew that it was kind of over at that point. And
gotcha.
I Will Dominate tweeted, he goes, also don't force Azael to cast these games anymore. It hurts to watch him being put through this pain and lose hope. And
oh man, that's funny.
And Azael had tweeted out like at the end of that game, he goes, the most NA shit ever. Fuck my life. Like he was like,
whoa.
And it's just like, obviously he really wants NA to succeed, and he knows the players. He's got a good, like, he doesn't fanboy in the way he casts, but clearly, like, just like any other region wants their teams to succeed and do well, because those are the teams that they have that connection with and are kind of like rooting for on a normal daily basis in their throughout the seasons. They want to see those teams succeed. It's tough. Like, you could see the pain in Azael's face with them losing that game, and it was tough. And
yeah, you never want to see that, man. You never want to see a grown man cry.
Because you love the passion. You love the passion that he brings about and the knowledge that he brings about the NA teams because he's so passionate. But watching them lose and just it you could tell it crushed him a bit.
Well, and it makes it so much worse for you as the viewer and the fan, right? Because you're like, well, man, what the fuck? Like, come on, let's
I was going through the same emotions as him, and I was
exactly.
I feel
like you need the shoulder to cry on.
Like
we can't be crying on each other's shoulders,
right? I felt for him in that, so that was just a side note, but yeah, just I guess wrapping up MSI, we've got matches coming up Friday and Saturday, best of 5 series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Semifinals, best of 5 on Friday between Royal Never Give Up and PSG Talon. Then on Saturday, best of 5 between Damwon Gaming Kia and the Mad Lions from the LEC. And then Sunday will be the finals for MSI. So,
wait, okay, so they skip a quarterfinals. We're just right into.
Yeah, so gotcha. No team got, because with 6 teams, if they did like a bye and had quarterfinals or whatever, then like all 6 teams would have made it out of the Rumble stage. So
why does it change all the time?
Every time.
Why does it change all the time?
No consistency.
It makes me feel like an idiot. It really does. It makes me feel like I know nothing. And I've looked at the website, I see the standings, I look at the dates, like
yep.
and then we get, oh my god, it makes me feel like I like just woke up and hit record and I'm just like, all right, I'm here, man. What do you need? Like I didn't do anything.
No, it's there. They change it so much. It's just next to impossible to like.
Crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so hard to keep up with how often it changes. But good games and good series. Hopefully this weekend. Looking forward to.
Dude, yeah, we're gonna have a packed weekend. I feel like we're going to see some unprecedented League of Legends the way this tournament has gone. The way, like, Mad Lions has showed up in a way that the LEC has before, but they look really good. And then PSG is taking boards, right?
And Mad Lions I think was the unexpected team to make it to MSI in general. So the fact that even they going into the finals, the like consistency of the LEC being pretty solid in international competition, I honestly don't know who is going to come out and end up in the finals. I would not be surprised to see it be Damwon versus RNG. I would not be surprised to see it as Mad Lions versus RNG. Like, I could see any combination of those teams. PSG, if they have some solid games in the best of 5, I could see them beating RNG. I don't necessarily expect it. Obviously, RNG's still favored, but it could happen. Like, nothing is out of the realm of possibilities for these matchups.
Yeah, it seems like we have a top 4 that's going to make for some very compelling best of 5 series. I think that's a good way to put it here for this weekend.
Yep, I definitely agree. So stay tuned, everyone. It'll be fun. Looking forward to talking about that next week. And yeah, enjoy this weekend. We've got a lot going on. F1, we've got some good MSI with the finals and everything. So busy weekend. Lots of sitting behind a screen all day on Saturday, Sunday. So...
See, the name of the game, though, is incorporating things to do during those commercial breaks and finding ways to, get up out of your seat. And I'll say this, the Wii the old Nintendo Wii game system, it used to have a thing where I believe on like the first party Nintendo games, it would have this thing because it was such a family friendly, just cute little device. If you were playing for more than an hour, it would like pop up a little like little picture of a window, like an open window and like a tree and some swings,
And
be
then
like,
it would
hey,
go, get the fuck outside. Right?
well, no, it would be like, hey, you've been playing for a bit, like, shouldn't you take a break? And it would show you like, hey, go outdoors, right? It was really funny. But that's not going to be this weekend. I'm going to be glued to my server, taking in all the greatness, you know, like we were talking about.
It'll be good. It's tough because we've had such good weather recently, and it's going to be tough if that continues into the weekend to be glued to my seat. But everything that's going on will have my attention thoroughly.
Definitely. Now, Aaron, before we wrap up this evening's episode, is there any last notes that you wanted to hit for the pod this evening?
Well, we do have the deck tech that we haven't gotten into.
Well, I was just thinking we would be pretty way over. I figured this conversation was going a little long.
I think that's okay. We could save this for a rainy day for next time or for whenever we get an opportunity. But no,
yeah, we don't want to bore our listeners, sir.
No, I think that kind of hits everything. I didn't realize how long we had gone with everything, but we had a lot of stuff to really get into with everything F1 and MSI this week. So I really don't have much more, but I am looking forward to getting into this deck tech when we have the opportunity. So.
Oh, and they will continue. It was just such a packed weekend with things going on, and I think we had to do this upcoming weekend justice. I think there's a lot to talk about, a lot to set up, give context to.
Definitely. Yeah. No, that definitely works.
And to be fair, you know, I get it. I think the Magic content comes a little secondary, and I can live with that. I'd rather be able to give it the time that I may, you know, like to give it.
No, I definitely.
So that's perfectly fine.
I'm down for that. So
word.
So yeah, that I guess kind of takes us to the end of our show today.
Now, I will say to all our listeners, we really appreciate you tuning in and checking us out every week. I will say, leave a comment in the description with something crazy. Let us know that you watched till the end.
Hey, let us know what your rose, thorn, and seed for this week were. Give us
it.
Yeah, give us some stuff that's going on with you guys. We'd love to see it. We'd love to interact and be able to kind of go back and forth with you all in the comments and hear what's going on with you. So definitely looking forward to hopefully seeing some of that.
Hell yeah. We look forward to getting in contact with you all. That has been the tall and short of it, everybody. Peace out.
Later, guys.